Playing Driveclub is like dating that stereotypical hottest girl in school. At first glance, she's undeniably gorgeous, and for a while, the relationship is a great deal of fun. But then the excitement begins to waver as it becomes apparent she's not all that exciting to be with. She never wants to do anything different. See, Driveclub does what it does really well. Problem is, it doesn't really do all that much. It looks phenomenal, certainly. It's probably the best looking race I've ever played on console, but mechanically it's a sound arcade circuit experience. And that's it. Much like the Hot Girl Driveclub isn't interested in doing anything else outside its niche. It never strives to do anything new, it doesn't push the envelope, and it will never surprise you. Resultantly, Driveclub lacks a next-gen flair. It's not a bad game, it's just one lacking much needed variety. The bare bones feel of Driveclub actually falsely ages it. If it weren't for the flashy visuals, it'd be easy to convince almost anyone that Evolution Studios' latest was a launch title on the last generation. Driveclub feels like it's meant to be a visual showcase for PS4, and that's unsurprising considering it was planned as a launch title for the system in 2013. Times have moved on though, and PlayStation 4 no longer needs a showcase. Driveclub has arrived a year too late. There's simply no escaping that reality. Sadder still is that Driveclub lacks character, a strange trait for an Evolution Studios game. They are, after all, the team behind the attitude-infused PS3 racing series MotorStorm. Driveclub suffers from something of an identity crisis. The confusing marketing message suggests that Driveclub is a simulation racer. In reality, it's completely an arcade experience. That said though, it doesn't feel as though Evolution intended Driveclub to be an arcade racer. Driveclub never fully submits itself to the silly and the fun you'd expect from a genre. Instead, Driveclub takes its cues from simulators like Gran Turismo, reveling in meticulous car enthusiast details. Each of Driveclub's 50-something car interiors are expertly crafted. Their exteriors are stunning, almost perfect recreations of their inspiration. Each vehicle emulates the real thing as closely as possible. On a superficial level they're gorgeous, and on a very basic mechanical level each car handles like you'd expect. When playing using the interior first-person camera, there are stacks of little details to behold. Unfortunately, if you're like almost everyone else in the world, you'll probably never see them, because most of us automatically alter the camera to see the car from in third-person view almost immediately. Disappointingly, Driveclub's roster of cars isn't very diverse. Of the 50-something cars in-game, all are European, bar one American vehicle. The Japanese are omitted completely. It's a sad oversight taken by an arcade racer which takes itself all too seriously. Once you get your car out onto one of Driveclub's tracks from any of the various locale, you'll quickly forget about the variety and modern trimmings. Playing Driveclub is actually a lot of fun. Car enthusiasts who found Forza or Gran Turismo a little heavy going may actually find a lot to like here. Handling is forgiving, but has enough nuance for players to improve, and precise controls make navigating even the most tricky corners feel challenging rather than frustrating. A light drifting system also means that once you get good, it's entirely possible to throw the cars through turns a little less than realistically. Tracks are deliberately thin to amplify the sense of speed, and it works exceptionally. Even in slower segments, racing never loses its fast pace. The best tracks are breathtaking winding roads that carve their way through beautiful scenery. They feel epic to undertake. Even though the gameplay is fun enough, being confined to simple tracks with only a few cars can never truly shake the old-fashioned feel. Old-school fans of the racing genre with a soft spot for the serious, such as myself, will find a diamond in the rough here, but there's little for anyone else. Whilst Driveclub's races look and handle beautifully, they aren't problem-free. Driveclub's biggest issue is its AI. Computer-controlled rivals aren't so much dumb as they are inflexible, rigid. The AI seems to be programmed to follow the racing line with a single-minded compulsive obsession. They rarely if ever diverge from the optimum line, and will vindictively bully their way through you if that's what it takes to get back to it. They are hardwired to be on that line. If that means crashing into you, they absolutely will. Collisions are preferable to being in the wrong place. This meant on numerous occasions they would unfairly push me from the track, or worse, their driving would get me penalised. In order to persuade players from cheating, Driveclub hands out penalties. Penalties denied the driver the ability to accelerate for a period of time, depending on the charge levied against them. The most common ones are collisions and cutting corners. Problem is that the system doesn't understand when this is your fault or the AI. In other words, Driveclub will always assume you are in the wrong. That means when AI push you over a corner or crash into you, and they will, you will be held responsible. It's really frustrating. It can cost you a race, and it happens all too often. Most of my playtime with Driveclub was spent in the basic campaign mode. With numerous events spanning the globe and 5 different classes of car, there was plenty to do, albeit pretty vanilla content. I was incentivized to collect medals in events and compete in various leaderboard challenges during races. These competitions are little chunks of content that feel okay but are largely inconsequential. There's no real reason to complete them unless you're desperate to level up your driver rank. Increasing the rank unlocks new cars to play with, which is integral to progression, as it unlocks some of the game's best vehicles, some of which feel sadly necessary towards the end of a single player, as AI will have access to the best, making them difficult to beat regardless of skill. Now, you may have noticed that I haven't mentioned Driveclub's namesake, the social clubs. These drive clubs encourage players to band together and race as one. Sadly, these clubs can only accommodate 6 players maximum. The cap seems fairly mean, and so if you have a big group of friends, you're out of luck. Overall, though, the clubs just aren't that interesting. I found myself joining a club not for social reasons, but only because I felt I had to. Some car unlocks are tied to the club leveling progression. If you want to drive everything, the clubs are not an option. Driveclub is ultimately a game that feels too late. Had it made its debut on the PS4's launch, its old-fashioned nature and lack of features may have been forgiven, but now it's hard to see through them. If you can get over the small car selection, disappointing social features, rigid AI and the vanilla single-player experience, then underneath you will find a competent and admittedly fun racer. If you're in the market for a simple arcade racer with a reverence for cars, you will enjoy Driveclub. Even then though, Driveclub is lacking content, and in the end, its soullessness leaves it feeling just a little sterile.